Eric,
What's going on, Joe?
what's up, buddy? I think I think we're going here. I'm always surprised when it works because I don't really know how to work this stuff. AP always does it, so anytime I get anything going, I'm kind of surprised. But I think we're up.
All right.
We'll give folks a couple minutes to get in. Welcome into the Turn Golf Podcast. Really happy to have you all with us. Really happy to have Eric Darbo from Sweet Spot DFS with us. Been on a couple times this year. We always appreciate it. Eric's been a great friend of the show, so definitely recommend you following him on Twitter, checking out some of his stuff over on YouTube. Tell us a little bit about that, Eric. Where can folks kind of follow you and catch your work?
Yeah, you can. Well, thanks for having me on again, Joe. First of all, I think I had one with you earlier this year, like early, like waste management, and then I think I was on for one of the Texas events with Mr. Putters.
Yeah.
So this has been awesome. You can find all my stuff on YouTube at Sweet Spot DFS, all one word. You can find all my videos there. I usually post 3 videos, but I've been kind of a little lazy this year or this summer with getting all 3 out. I usually have a prize picks video I do on Wednesdays, but I usually like to start with a preview on Mondays, strategy video on Tuesdays. And really it's just kind of going down the sweet spot process, which any new users or new listeners out there, I have a process that I like to call the bucket system. It's more of a tool, an analyzing tool. Because I'm trying to hit the optimal lineup every single week. So that is my goal. I aim to do that. And I talk about it through the preview. We start there. And then strategy is truly strategy. It's all about trying to find the anchor plays to build our lineups around. And I actually have some questions for you once we get there, because I know we're going to be talking about some of these players that I'm thinking about anchoring around. But
Okay.
yes, that's what we do, or that's what I do on YouTube. And then I just retweet all my stuff or I just tweet all my stuff on Twitter. Sometimes I provide some fun stat filled, videos, or even stat filled tweets. It all just depends on the time that I have, but that's about it. Twitter, Sweet Spot DFS, YouTube, same thing.
Okay. You guys heard that. Go follow Eric, check his videos out, throw him a subscribe on YouTube, and do all that good stuff. You can also check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. All of our episodes are cataloged over there, so you can, always go back and look at a tournament from previous years if you kind of want to get some thoughts from the past. And there are some evergreen episodes over there that you can check out. We also appreciate a follow on Twitter at the Turn Golf Pod. And we always kind of want to toss in there. We hope you'll visit rotoballer.com. They're a great partner of the show. Has supported Andrew and I kind of since we got started. We think the content over there is some of the best in the industry. We think it'll help you with your bets, your DFS, your one and done picks. Visit rotoballer.com. You can always get a discount on any type of subscription with our promo code TURN, TURN. So FedEx Cup playoffs, hit up rotoballer.com, and right around the season, we got a new golf season. The fall tournaments will be starting up soon. So head over to rotoballer.com. Check it out over there. We appreciate it. A lot to unpack, Eric, from last week in Memphis, man. A pretty interesting week, to say the least. A lot of things going on both off and on the course. A lot of that seemed to revolve around Cam Smith, which we'll touch on here in just a second. But a big breakthrough win for a guy. I was remembering when you said you would do the show with me this week. We talked about Will Zalatoris the last time you were on. I think maybe we were coming off Torrey, that playoff loss of his at Torrey.
Right. Yeah.
But we both really liked his chances to grab some wins this year, to play really well, and that's been the case, man. Narrowly missing out on a couple of major championships, and finally getting a breakthrough win in the first of them in the FedEx Cup playoffs last week in Memphis. So, I think we both really like Willie Z from tee to green. Any thoughts, any takeaways, kind of from a huge breakthrough win for Will Zalatoris?
Yeah. First of all, Joe, I didn't play a lot of Will Zalatoris last week, so I'm kicking myself over that.
He was a core play for me, but unfortunately, that was about the only good one. So I was in on Willie Z, but another player we'll talk about a little bit this week. I was in on Scotty Scheffler, and that did not go well.
Oof.
Yeah, brutal.
I think last week I kind of anchored between two guys. Obviously, Will Zalatoris was not one of them, and I think it was Rory and Cantlay. I think like those two guys I was anchoring around, and neither one of them obviously paid off anything. And then I didn't have Will Zalatoris to go with it, so I'm kicking myself, Joe. Really upset that I didn't play Will Zalatoris during the time he wins. I've been on him almost every other week before that, so yeah, I'm happy Zalatoris got his win. Sad that I wasn't, a part of the community win that everybody else had. It seemed like so. That's on me, obviously.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things, man. I liked him because I know that that TPC Southwind, just being from Knoxville, kind of know a little bit about Southwind. No, it's a test, man. Really puts some pressure on these guys from tee to green, and that's where Willie Z shines for me. So he's kind of a no brainer for me last week. Unfortunately, missed on some of the other guys, but really glad to see him grab a win. Kind of some controversy swirling around leading up to Sunday. We all know the Cam Smith live stuff. We won't dig into that, but what was interesting was Cam was right in the hunt, man, to win this thing going into Sunday. We thought at 11 under, only to get a 2-stroke penalty there Sunday morning for a rules infraction that happened in the third round on Saturday. So there's some conspiracy theories floating around out there. First of all, taking any of that out of consideration, I really, really hate the retroactive penalties. Like, I hate going back and applying penalties to these guys, no matter who the player is. It's one of my most hated things about kind of the modern technology on the PGA Tour. I think when you're done with the hole, when you hit your tee shot on the next hole, you're done. That window should be closed. That's just kind of me on my soapbox. But have you got any thoughts on the whole Cam Smith thing? He's now withdrawn from this week's BMW. I think he'll probably show up in East Lake just to cash a check. But any thoughts on kind of the Cam Smith situation?
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback on you with the whole retroactive penalties. For all of the golf purists, and I certainly would probably call myself one of them, but I'm always about adapting to the times. And if we wanted to take like the purist viewpoint on this, the rules clearly state in the rules of golf, it is up to your group to enforce penalties. So right from there, if we were to go back 100 years, how many penalties do you think we missed with some of the guys, that were playing way back then? Now, we would all like to think they're all, outstanding, golfers that will never, ever miss a rule or anything like that, but it happens. So right on with you when it comes to the video part of this whole thing. Yeah, we have super great cameras out there that are giving us the greatest resolution we possibly can. So we're never going to miss anything. So when it does come down to something like a stupid rule like that, now here's the thing. He still broke a rule, in the book. It isn't like they are trying
a bad rule, by the way. I will just toss in there. It's a bad rule. But
I absolutely agree.
It is a rule, and you can clearly see that he did break the rule. But as you mentioned, with the great cameras, the high definition, we can see everything, but we can't see everything for every player, Eric. There isn't as many cameras on some players as others. So that kind of comes into focus for me. There's just a lot of things I don't like about it. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, but it's a bad rule.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I wish I had a better memory of this, but I want to say like we could go back 4, 5, 6 weeks ago and find someone that DQ'd because they did something wrong that someone reported to the officials at the end of the round, and then they were DQ'd that way. So I don't think, I don't think there's really a conspiracy to go along with this. I mean, I'll always remember when Tiger was in the hunt on a Saturday at the Masters. He hit the pin, rolled back into the water. He dropped near his point to where he hit. He took advantage of not actually putting it exactly, and I wouldn't even say exactly because you don't have to be exact on your drop. You just got to be close. He admitted in his post round interview that he's like, yeah, I went back a couple of yards because it was more comfortable. That's clearly infraction of the rules. They did penalize Tiger just like they did Cam Smith. So like, and that was on camera. So they had the camera proof. They had even the if you want to call it a testimony at the end of the round. So first and foremost, I'm just going to say I don't think that there's any conspiracy just because he might jump ship to live that they want to, they want to penalize Cam Smith. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a stupid rule. It's dumb. A lot of rules in there are dumb. Him withdrawing this week, I actually was just listening to Mark Immelman earlier talk about how this actually is an issue he's had since before even winning the Open Championship. I think it's his sciatica or something like that that's acting up. So it's a nerve in his back or his hip that's acting up, and the one thing you can do is give it rest. So I think he does want to take down the Tour Championship. I think he wants to win that 10 million and perhaps run off to live with the 10 million that comes with it, or whatever the prize money is now, maybe 15 million.
Yeah, I think it's like 15 maybe now.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I think there's a lot of like what you could say about this, but I think it's all legit. Honestly, I don't think there's any conspiracies or whatever to go with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I think it's legitimate. I don't think there's any concentrated efforts by the PGA Tour to harm Cam Smith, but it just kind of the way things came together. I felt like we had to talk about it.
Sure.
Crazy stuff, man. But we'll move on. Huge win for Willie Z. I think all in all turned out to be a good event. I really like the fact that a Tennessee golf course kind of gets a little bit of a showcase, being the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So shout out Southwind. It's a good golf course, good test for these guys. Moving forward to this week, the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. And this is a golf course we don't know very much about, Eric. Wilmington Country Club, first time hosting a PGA Tour event or a professional event of any type. This is the BMW Championship, the second leg of the PGA FedEx Cup playoffs. Top 70 advanced from last week. This is a no-cut event. We'll kind of dig into that if that's going to affect our strategy any this week. We got 70, I think actually 68 showing up with Cam out, and I believe Tommy Fleetwood is out. I think his mother passed away, unfortunately. So I think we're at 68 players this week, and we'll have the top 30 after this week, moving on to East Lake and the Tour Championship next week. These guys desperately want to be in that Tour Championship because of all the benefits that go with that. So we don't know a lot about this golf course, Eric. Wilmington Country Club, just kind of a brief rundown. 7,535 yard, par 71. Got bent greens. Robert Trent Jones Sr. design. Pretty extensive renovation by Andrew Green back in 2021. This is kind of a classic Northeast tree line golf course. We talked a little bit about this golf course before we started recording. Kind of give the folks watching a glimpse into what you're thinking about the course this week, man.
So for me, I think so. I don't know, Joe. Do you think that this is going to be a difficult golf course, or do you think this is going to be an easy golf course?
I think this could be a kind of a mirage. I think this is one of those old school, looks really tough on the scorecard. tree lined, old school northeastern New England type golf course, and I think these guys will probably fare very, very well this week on this course.
Okay. So I kind of almost had the opposite take
Okay.
because I think 4-inch rough matters a lot. And kind of like I was talking to you with some of these par fives, they look narrow. And that's obviously more like from a satellite image, doesn't, you know, I didn't get to see a hole by hole video on YouTube or, you know,
Yeah,
going to this the
I think
site
it's
like
fair. I think that's fair to say that the fairways are fairly narrow, and from what we're hearing, pretty penal rough.
right. So I think if there, and it doesn't look like there's any forecasted rain or anything like that, but if there's any moisture on in this rough, it's going to be extremely penal. So um, I think it has the ability to be a tough course. I don't know. I think it might be one of those middle of the pack type of golf courses, like where 12
Yeah.
to 14 under wins. I don't think that's going to be like 20 under is going to win. But yeah, so with that being said, it being a no cut event, I don't, if it's going to be somewhat tough, I just don't think like we're going to have that scoring barrage. I think we'll probably see more people bogey if it's going to be a little bit tough trying to go for it. If they have that no cut mentality, you know what I'm saying? Like a WGC event or even like a Kapalua where it's like, I can just go out there and just fire lights out. I don't know about this course. And also there isn't a lot of water on this course. I think there's 4 water hazards. So I don't think there's really, you know, anything penalizing about that. But yeah, I guess just from what it looks like, I agree with you. It looks old school. It looks like, you know, just playing smart golf is the way to win this tournament. And I think 14 under is probably a good basis or a good starting point of trying to predict the winner, like the winning score.
Yeah, definitely a lot of unknowns this week, man, which makes it kind of tough, especially considering, you know, this is a playoff event and it's a golf course these guys are kind of seeing for the first time. So it's really interesting as far as, you know, for the huge majority of the PGA Tour schedule outside of some of the majors and, you know, maybe some venue changes or new events. We're very familiar with these golf courses. We kind of know what type of players we want to target each week. And that's not the case here. Kind of a fallback strategy for me. Like to look at ball striking, like to look at strokes gained tee to green. You know, just overall excellence kind of from a broader view. And then as the week progresses, I'll start kind of dialing that in as to what I do want to try to target on this golf course. Personally, I think driving distance will be important this week. I'm looking at good drives gained, strokes gained off the tee. I think putting your ball in play, as you mentioned, these fairways are narrow. Putting your ball in play is going to be very important. So I'm fine looking at guys that are really accurate off the tee, but I also think that, you know, if these guys are bombing driver, even with the rough and these large greens, getting wedge in their hand into these holes could be a big advantage. So some different kind of lines you can take as far as what you're looking for this week. And that's something we'll dig in, Eric, as we kind of go through the slate. So let's just go ahead and hop in up at the top if you're ready, man. We'll hit the DraftKings slate and start talking about some of these guys specifically.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, man. Yeah, Cam Smith was atop the board, but as we've thoroughly mentioned, he's out this week. So things are starting off with Rory McIlroy, a surprised miscut. I think a surprise for most. Miscut last week in Memphis, coming off that letdown at the Open. He'd had several off weeks, so it was almost a knock the rust off outing for him. He's atop the scale at 10-5. John Rahm showed a little bit of life last week at 10-3. JT at 10-1. And last week's winner, Will Zalatoris. Can he keep things going at 10K? 10K and up, Eric. Only 4 guys with Cam Smith's WD. So give me your thoughts, man. Any of these guys that you love, any of these guys that you hate up here this week?
Yeah, I don't have a thing against any one of these golfers. And The first thing that I mentioned this before we went live. I was gonna ask you about two guys because to me, I am either anchoring my lineups around Rory McIlroy or I'm anchoring my lineups around John Rahm.
Mhm.
Really like Rahm this week. I liked what he did last week with his off the tee and approach game. Like that type of Rahm is scary Rahm.
Yeah.
Rory, on the other hand, I'm not concerned about a miscut. Obviously, with the buckets, how I go through everything is I take a look at each range, and obviously miscut is one of the buckets that I look at. That's one of the anchor buckets this week. You want one golfer from that bucket, at least one. Is that McIlroy? And I'll tell you right now, like he's one of very few golfers priced over 8,800. Just to give you an idea, it's Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler, and Roy McIlroy in that bucket, and then a bunch of 7 and 6K golfers. So if I'm telling you you want at least one, it's a really good chance Rory's going to be inside the top 10. Now, at 10.5, that doesn't really mean he's an automatic play because if he finishes 9th, 10th, 8th, he doesn't really pay it off. But I don't know, man. Between McIlroy and Rahm, and I also don't mind JT. I'm probably the coldest on Will Zalatoris, although I think he could, do back to back just fine. But
Yeah.
I think for me, it's between McIlroy and Rahm. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. Obviously, JT and Willie Z are both excellent choices. I think the tougher this golf course plays, as I mentioned, that'll lean into Will Zalatoris' hands. If this is a 10 to 12 under type of event, and it proves that this thing's a challenging test from tee to green, really like his chances of kind of hanging around in there. But yeah, Rory and Rahm are my two favorites as well, Eric. I agree with you there. And it boils down to me for their ability off the tee. Two of the best drivers of the ball on tour. Rahm, as you mentioned, looked really good in Memphis last week. An underwhelming year for him. Had a win in Mexico back in May. But really not much else, man. For the guy that entered this year ranked number one in the world, by his standards, it's been an underwhelming year. But he could be motivated to close out the year strong. We've seen Rory in the past play really well in the FedEx Cup playoffs. They're both extremely long off the tee, but also very accurate. So that's something I'm waiting this week. As to which one you want to pick, I think it's a toss up, but those are my top two up here. So I like that call. What about the nines, Eric? A lot of quality. It's something we'll talk about as we move through this field, through this salary scale. A lot of quality on this slate. Really, there aren't any bad players in this field. And with the no cut aspect, we can afford to be aggressive this week. So, give me your thoughts on the 9Ks. Who are you targeting there?
All right. So first of all, you're supposed to choose one golfer for me between McIlroy and Rahm. So the fact you
I'm a Rory homer.
okay,
I like if I had to pick, I would pick Rory there just because I think his wedge play's been better this year. If this does turn out with the yardages on a lot of these holes, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of wedges. So that would be the deciding factor. I'd go Rory there if I had to pick between the two.
okay. Yeah, I was trying to poke holes in each of these during my strategy video that I just put out before we went live. And I was looking at around the green stats because I was worried about that. If the rough is going to be really thick. Rory's no chump because that was kind of like my downfall with Rory. It was like I was like, maybe that's the weakness. Otherwise everything else, I like Rory a lot. But it's hard for me with Rahm. I'll move on to the 9K range.
Green size kind of, I feel like kind of depresses that around the green
Yep.
a little bit because these greens are so big.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that because I totally forgot about that. You're absolutely right. It does mitigate the importance of around the green, unless people are flying, trying to go after sucker pins and miss on the short side. Then it does matter with around the green. But anyways, that's way too hard to figure out. 9K range. So, like I said, I want to anchor on Rory or Rahm. In the 9K range, I've narrowed it down to either Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, or Sung J.M. I think I'm going to ignore the rest of them. I don't care for Scotty this week. I just don't like him at a true bent grass golf course. Xander has my interest, but the sweet spot process, I don't like pairing up golfers from the same group. So I did like determining between Cantlay and Xander since they're golfing together. I'm choosing Cantlay this week. Although you can make an argument for Xander. He's fourth in my model. Cantlay is actually number one in my model. So,
Okay.
And then Fitzpatrick, hey, he's a good golfer. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I am definitely staying away from Morikawa. I don't care that he did well last week. He plays better on Bermuda than he does bent grass. I'm just staying away from Morikawa. And same kind of goes with Burns. I don't care for Burns, and I'm saving Hovland till next week, which might just be a stupid reason to not want to play him. And I just think Tom Kim runs out of gas.
Okay. I think your Morikawa take is a little contrarian. I think he's going to be pretty popular this week. I'm seeing a lot of people that are fired up about his output last week. My favorite in the range is Tony Finau. I run a kind of a little rudimentary model at the start of each week with just some very basic stuff. Came out number one in that for me. He's first in this field in strokes gained total, tee to green, and ball striking over the last 24 rounds. Second in good drives gained. And we all know he's plenty long enough off the tee. Played extremely well last week. Kind of flew under the radar there, but really kind of had a chance to steal that thing down the stretch Sunday. Willie Z and Sepp eventually pulled away, but Tony right there again off back-to-back wins. We well documented. Win in Minnesota, win in Detroit, but played extremely well. And I just don't see a reason to jump off, especially on this type of golf course, which I think he can certainly handle. Plenty of length, and he's hitting the driver great. The irons are good, and the putter's been great. So a lot to like for me. I feel like it's a steal catching Tony Finau at a sub 10K price tag. And this feels just kind of like DraftKings pricing Tony, where they all have always priced Tony. Rather than maybe where he should be priced, which I feel like's 10K. So Tony's definitely my favorite up here. I'll kind of argue with you a little bit on Morikawa just because I do feel like when that ball striking is going well, he can make things happen, man. The guy's a proven winner, which we can't say for everyone up here in this range. So I do like Morikawa, I think, a little bit more than you do, Eric. But Tony's my favorite. Have to respect Xander, just how good all around he is consistently, and Matt Fitzpatrick having a great year as well. Sung Jae and Tom Kim, yeah, you could kind of make that argument with Tom Kim that eventually this is going to run out. And Sung Jae, I really loved a few weeks ago at the Wyndham, but haven't been there since, and I don't see myself there again this week. Anything else you want to add in the 9Ks, Eric?
No, but you just mentioned Sepp Straka, and I think it's worth mentioning for me. He's grouped with Rory this week, and Sepp's not in the 9K range, but you mentioned his name because we're talking about Zalatoris just recently. It was Finau, I think, but that worries me about Rory. But just adding that piece, that's it. That's all that I have to add. I don't have anything else to talk about with the 9K range.
All right, let's kind of dig right in the eights. Here again, lots of quality, and my favorite player is right there at the top at 8,900. Cameron Young. He actually graded out second in my model behind Tony Finau, and checks a lot of the same boxes. Extremely long off the tee. Second in this field in driving distance. He's first in strokes gained off the tee. We know he's a tremendous ball striker. Had a T31 last week, but that doesn't really do justice to how well he played. Gained 8.4 strokes tee to green last week in Memphis, but lost 5.5 strokes putting. So you have to feel like there'll be some positive regression there. When it comes to Cam Young, a player that we've seen come extremely close on multiple occasions this week. Now that Will Zalatoris has a win, you could maybe argue that Cam Young's the best player on tour without a victory. but there's a lot to lock down through here. Give me your thoughts, man, on Cameron Young and any other players that you like in this 8K range.
Yeah, I agree with you with Cam Young. I mean, so first of all, I want to ask, you must weigh recent form pretty heavy in your model, I'm assuming.
I usually 24 rounds. I usually do the last 24 rounds. I've just found that's a good number for me. It's enough to kind of take out anything fluky, but it's not, far enough back to where I feel like we're also getting a feel for recent form. So 24 rounds is kind of my default when I start off the week. I do just a really basic model, 4 or 5 statistics that I'm weighing heavily, and do a 24 round search.
Okay. So yeah, 24 rounds for some of these guys goes back to 2.5 months ago. And yeah, Cam Young, super great. Tony Finau, obviously, with 2 wins. That makes sense. Yeah, so Cam Young, I agree with you. Number 1 for me. And then I kind of like I don't know how I feel about, how would you rank these guys? Neiman, Aaron Wise, Corey Connors, Max Homa, Adam Scott. I don't know. That's 5 people. That might be too much. But Neiman, Homa, Connors, Wise, Adam Scott.
Homa is interesting to me. Didn't play great last week, but if you look at his track record in Memphis, he's never played great on that golf course. I feel like this layout, even though we're kind of making educated guesses, I feel like this golf course is going to suit Homa's game better. Corey Connors, I love. You kind of worry about the large greens. Is he going to be able to avoid 3 putts this week? So I would probably go. Adam Scott's coming along nicely. We know what type of player he is. So I'm probably going Neiman, Homa at the top, a little bit of a dip, Connors, Scott, and then Aaron Wise. Probably coming in last for me there. Even though I love Aaron Wise's game, those are some good players that you lumped him in with. So that's where I am with those 5.
So I purposely left out Spieth, Lowry, Matsuyama, Hatton because I just don't care for those golfers in the 8K range. If I'm not going Cam Young, I'm choosing between the 5 golfers that I just mentioned to you. So, and I do like Wise. I almost want to say Scott's performance last week was very fluky. Like, he gained a ton on putting, and I know he's been doing better. But when you have negative approach, if you're going to finish inside the top 10, you better have really good putting, because otherwise you must be making it up off the tee or around the green.
And Wise did look good from tee to green last week. Gained 4.4 strokes tee to green, 4 on approach, and right at 2.5, I think, off the tee. Lost strokes around the green and putting. You can argue how much that factors in to the next week's performance. So, and he's really picked up kind of to close out the year after a really sluggish start. So yeah, I definitely like Wise.
So I bring that up because I like Wise a lot. I think Wise has more upside than Connors, and when Wise is firing on all cylinders, he's just a step below Neiman and Homa when they're firing on all cylinders.
Okay.
I just Wise, the volatility behind Wise is really large, is really high. So I think he's a good wild card. Honestly, a good wild card play.
Yeah, I agree. Just like I'm a Neiman truther. I like him on Ben as well.
Oh yeah.
Traditionally his best putting surface, and he gained almost 6 strokes on approach last week. One of his better iron performances of the year. Only two outings better than that for him this year, and that was at the Memorial and his win at Genesis. So you could kind of feel like Neiman's starting to hit on all cylinders, starting to hit the irons well. But needless to say, a lot to like in this 8K range. So I think you can definitely kind of start here when looking for anchors or looking for a core if you'd like to kind of build from the inside out this week. Same can be said of the 7Ks. As I mentioned, these are the top 70 players on the PGA Tour for this season. So give me some thoughts on the 7Ks, Eric. A lot of quality players in here.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, I would probably go through all of them. I think the best thing I could probably tell you is the people that I probably won't play.
Okay.
The first being Billy Horschel. I don't think I want to touch Billy. I mean, he has 80 events on bentgrass. His average finishing position is 43.65, and he has a 16% success rate of being inside the top 10. That isn't good enough for me. It's not terrible, but like Russell Henley's just below him. Way better. Well, I shouldn't say way better, but better stats overall, as well as just within this year when it comes to bentgrass. Brian Harmon also better than Billy Horschel. Riley Davis is even better than or Davis Riley, sorry, not Riley Davis. Davis Riley better as well. So like it's easy for me just to cast out Billy Horschel because he's a high 7K golfer. Mm-hmm. And then I'm probably not playing Maverick McNeely. I think burnout for him is kind of a big deal. I can't remember where it was, like John Deere Classic. I think I forgot he had played 6 events in a row leading up to like the John Deere Classic. And then he really hasn't had a break since. I think he's running on fumes, probably not going to go there. I don't care for Seamus Power. So I think it's those 3 guys in the 7K range that I just really am just going to cast out. And I'm very iffy on Siwoo Kim and Denny McCarthy, but the rest of them I like a lot. Taylor Pendrith might be my favorite golfer in that range. How about you?
Yeah. Really weird you said that, man. I think Pendrith probably is my favorite. Certainly one of in that range. Graded out 6th in my model at $7,400, which is pretty darn strong. Really like what he does. If this thing does kind of turn into a bit of a pitch and putt, I mean, if these bombers are just banging it down there and hitting wedge, I really like what Pendrith is capable of doing in that type of situation. He's 3rd in this field in driving distance, and has really put together a strong stretch of golf in the run up to this. So yeah, I'm with you. Pendrith's definitely one I'm circling this week. Also want to hit on Cameron Davis, just a player that's been uber consistent over the last 6-8 weeks. I think he's a guy that's talented. A lot of people expected maybe a bigger year after a breakthrough win last year, but he's really righted the ship here the last couple months. So I'll toss out Cameron Davis since we didn't mention his name there at 7,600. And saw at the gala, having a tremendous rookie season, man. I suppose currently running second to Cam Young, but I like his explosiveness. It seems like when he's playing well, he's contending for, fighting for a top 5. And I would rather, swing and miss with a guy that has top 5 top upside than maybe some of these other guys, that you're just hoping to eke out a top 20. I also toss out Mito Pereira, who after kind of a downswing after that near miss at the major earlier in the year, bounced back nicely last week. When you look at his statistics across the board, they're rock solid. So at 7,100, wouldn't mind taking a look at Mito. As we get into the 6s, this is a little different than what we're used to seeing in the 6K range. Kind of keep harping on the fact that every player in this field is a quality player, actually. So I think you can and probably should go down into the 6K range this week, Eric. You might disagree with me on that, but it's a no-cut event, and I think there's some quality down here. So give me your thoughts on dipping into the 6Ks. From a lineup perspective and any players you like down here.
Yeah, so I'm a huge proponent. If you want to win a GPP, you're going to have to grab someone from the 6K range in like 95% of GPPs throughout the year. So
see, I knew that, Eric. I set that one up on the tee for you.
course he did. I didn't doubt you one bit. So, um, yeah, I absolutely love dropping down in the 6K range, and I actually have my optimizer usually set at making sure I pick one 6K golfer. But to go along with you with value, just to throw this out there, Matt Kuchar, although he played really poorly last week, and that's fine. I guess I don't really care about that. Matt Kuchar's 38th in my model, and I weigh a lot of things: recent form, overall performance on bent grass. We're looking at year-long stats. He's still 38th in my model, and he's what? He's in a tie for 65th when it comes to pricing.
Yeah, I think he's Stone Man, right? He's like 6K.
Yeah, he is Stone Man.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to play like 20-30% Matt Kuchar. I probably might play 6-8% Matt Kuchar, but having him down there at the Stoneman, absolutely. And then Brendan Steele, 6,200. How many people did he burn last week? I don't mind playing him here. I think he has the game to do well here. Tom Hoagie at 6,300. He'd been playing poorly, but he did well. What was it at the 3M Open, which is a pure bent grass golf course. I think Tom Hoagie plays well on bent grass. Taylor Moore, I think, would be another good candidate. Wyndham. I mean, I could name all of these guys. I think I'm probably staying away from like a Christian Bezainhout, Kevin Kisner, Alex Noren with his neck issue. I don't like that. But Joe, I know you're gonna do the heart and dart thing. My dart's HV3.
Okay, we're just going on it. We're going on with it. HV3.
Yeah.
Why do you like HV3 so much, Eric?
So I absolutely despise HV3 when he's 9K and above. I cannot do HV3. I think he disappoints you so much. But as a 6K golfer, sign me up. Like, this is the volatility. Like, that's where no disrespect. I guess there's a little disrespect to this, but like HV3, I think he should be in the 6K range all the time, or low 7K. When he creeps up to the 8K range, it's a full fade for me. I don't like. No, thank you. But in the 6K range, he's 28th in my model. He's the best ranked golfer in the 6K range, and it's not relatively close. Sebastian Munoz is second for me. Chris Kirk is up there too. But
there's some really good plays down here. A guy you mentioned, Brendan Steele, ranks really highly for me. As far as the ball striking, I'm weighing heavily ball striking and strokes gained off the tee. Good drives gained. Clocks in really well in all those over the last 24 rounds. Ninth in this field in strokes gained tee to green over the last 24 rounds. And a guy that I was honestly pretty shocked to see down here, considering the past month he's put forth, and that's Trey Mullinax at 6,200. We saw him win in Kentucky, played well in the Open Championship, played extremely well last week. My mind's kind of blank. I don't know exactly where he ended up, but Mullinax was in the mix last week. And at 6,200, I feel like there's tons of upside there. Another player you mentioned, maybe a lesser known player than kind of some of the name brand golfers in this field. That's Taylor Moore, a kid that's put together a really nice stretch as of late. Let's dig into his recent results, man. Let's see. I mean, it's pretty impressive. Under the radar, really good. Let's see.
I got him for you if you'd like.
Okay, yeah. 2 top 25s and two top 10s over his last 6, right?
Yep.
T31 last week, gained 3 strokes on approach. 5th at the Wyndham, 6th at the Rocket. I mean, we know these aren't extremely deep fields, but gained strokes tee to green in each of his last 6. So, at that price tag, maybe we might catch the ownership down. I know you're not a huge ownership guy, but something I like to think about in these large field GPPs. But I think we both agree. There's a lot of directions you could and probably should go down in the 6Ks this week. Emiliano Grillo is another player that I like. Scott Stallings is our East Tennessee homeboy. Wyndham Clark showed some fight, so I think there's lots of ways you can go down here. And I like it from a roster construction perspective. Really lets you get some flexibility. Go up top if you want to. Go up to a Rory. Go up to a John Rahm if that's what you want to do. You can make it work this week. I know your dart is HV3. Give me your heart. Are you gonna go with a Rory or Rahm? Those guys you're kind of stuck between, or is there another player that's really kind of singing out to you this week, Eric? Who's your heart play for the BMW Championship?
Yeah, so I think the easy one is it's either Rory or Rahm. But then like in the 9K range, Cantlay or Finau. So it's like one of those four. I'm very questionable about, but I like them. There's one person that I'm not questionable about in the range that he's in, Cam Young. So I think just
love Cam Young this week.
If I was really truly going with a heart play, because I should be able to tell you it's McIlroy or it's Rahm if it's my heart play. Same applies with Cantlay or Finau. If one of those guys are my heart play, I should be able to tell you, and I can't. In the 8K range, it's no one else. It's Cam Young.
I think that qualifies, man. I think that's kind of the definition of a heart play is a guy that just jumps out at you and you have very little doubt about that he's going to play well. So we're putting you down for Cam Young and HV3. My dart and heart, I don't know if Taylor Pendrith's a dart, but I really like Taylor Pendrith this week. 7,400 feels underpriced to me, even in this field. I kind of expect to see him a little bit closer to 8K. But I'm going with Taylor Pendrith at 74 as my dart, and my heart is Tony Finau, man. I also really like Cameron Young. I think he'll play well this week. I'm kind of surprised that we're catching Tony sub 10K here. I like, the projected fit. Yes, it's projected. We aren't certain how this golf course is going to play. But we've seen Tony play really well on these kind of classical tree line golf courses throughout the course of his career. Length's not an issue for him. He's driving it beautifully, hitting the irons great, and putting well. So my heart says Tony Finau, number one in my model, and I want to roll with it this week. Any other thoughts, Eric? Kind of as we close out the show, close out this golf season, really. Any other thoughts as we head into the BMW this week?
Not really. I mean, it has been a crazy season. And I mean, a lot of it comes with the whole live stuff that's in here. I'm really disappointed we don't have Bryce in here. I guess that's a big thing that I could add is just not seeing Bryce in here is kind of one of those big ones. I don't necessarily so much care for like DJ or Brooks. Like I just never really have, but Bryson always seems to just make things interesting, especially a course like this. This seems like tailor made for like a Bryson to play at. And so it's disappointing. There's kind of some Winged Foot vibes here. Maybe, call back to Cays Valley in last year's playoffs where we saw Cantlay and DeChambeau battling it out. So yeah, man, Bryson's a really interesting player and a fun part of the game. I've always been a DJ fan, so it kind of sucks not seeing DJ. Sure. Well, shoot, if you were to say this reminds you of Winged Foot, Zalatoris has to be up there then, right?
Yeah. I hadn't dug in.
I know it's not a perfect comp.
Yeah, it's just kind of a weird northeastern type thing, like old school, just thinking old school traditional, these kind of beefed up golf courses. Winged Foot just kind of jumped to mind when you mentioned Bryson. So yeah, I like Willie. I'll put it this way. The reason I liked him last week, the reason I like him in every major, I said it on the show last week with Byron. The PGA Tour schedule really works against Will Zalatoris and what he does well. His game isn't going out and shooting 25 under, kind of on these run-of-the-mill birdie fest tracks. If this golf course does prove to be a test, kind of like you're thinking, 12, 14 under, I really like Willie Z again. So, we might kind of zipped over him a little bit going through the salary scale. We touched on his big win last week. But if this course does prove to be tough, if you do want to take that line,
Joe, I think what you just did to me right there is you might have talked me off of Rory and Rom and pivot me down to Zalatoris. Because I agree with you. I didn't even think of that. Didn't even put that into my thought process.
Yeah, I have zero concerns of him coming off a win. I think this kid's hungry. So I have zero concerns as far as that goes. My only concern is, how's this golf course going to play? And if it's kind of like you said at the top of the show, Eric, 12, 14 under, lock him.
I feel pretty comfortable with that. I think, but I don't know, man. We shall see. I think
we got a few more days to figure it out, man. We got a few more days to figure it out. It's always fun. It's always fun when we get a course we aren't super familiar with. I feel like, the huge majority of the schedule, we've been doing this. I've been doing this for 4 years. I know you're going into your second, third year. So, kind of recycles, man. We kind of by default, fall into, grouping these guys into what's going to work, what's not going to work. So it's kind of interesting, kind of gets the blood flowing a little bit when we're making some guesses on these golf courses. So, there are no wrong angles to kind of throw out there this week. And that's one, if, I think this place is going to be tough. Willie Z's is certainly the type of guy I want on my team in that situation. So lots to look at this week. I appreciate you joining us again, Eric. We hope to see you again real soon, man. We always love having you on. Thank you for making the time. Tell the folks one more time where they can catch you throughout the golf season.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you, Joe, for having me on Sweet Spot DFS on YouTube, on Twitter. Forgot to mention there's a $30 giveaway. We just need one new subscriber to the channel, and I'm running it next week. So $30 can be yours if you are subscribed to the channel and participate on the channel. So you're going to have to comment on 1 or 2 videos to get some entries that way. But yeah, it's there for you guys. So if you're not yet subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. But Sweet Spot DFS, all one word, all over the place.
All right, man. Go subscribe. Got a chance to win $30. Go visit rotoballer.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube. Find us there as well. Thanks a lot, Eric. Shout out AP. Hope to see you next week, buddy, for the Tour Championship. Thank you guys for checking us out, and we'll see